Ladies and gentlemen, royal watchers and gossip enthusiasts everywhere, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the most delicious royal comparison of all time. Princess Diana versus Kate Middleton. Two women, two generations, one crown, and enough drama to make your favorite soap opera look like a documentary on paint drying. Now, before you start typing angry comments about how we shouldn't compare them, let's be real. The entire world has been doing exactly that since the moment Kate stepped into those glass slippers. From the tabloids to your grandmother's tea parties, everyone's had an opinion. So today we're settling this once and for all with cold, hard facts, juicy secrets, and yes, maybe a few controversial takes that'll have you clutching your pearls. Get ready for the ultimate royal face-off. The people's princess versus the perfect princess. Who wore it better? Who broke more rules? And who's really winning the game of royal chess? Trust me, by the end of this, you'll have some very strong opinions. Round 1, the entrance. Let's start with their grand entrances into royal life. Because honey, these couldn't have been more different if they tried. Diana Spencer. Picture this, a 19-year-old kindergarten teacher who was literally working with finger paints and juice boxes when she caught the eye of the future King of England. She was so young, so innocent, so completely unprepared for what was about to hit her. It was like throwing a lamb into a lion's den, except the lions were wearing tiaras and the lamb was about to become the most photographed woman in the world. When Diana walked down the aisle in 1981, she was basically a teenager playing dress-up in the most expensive wedding dress in history. That 25-foot train, pure fairy tale fantasy. But here's the kicker. She flubbed her vows, calling Charles Philip Charles Arthur George instead of just Charles Philip Arthur George. Even at her own wedding, the poor girl was overwhelmed. Now Kate Middleton. Oh, this woman came prepared. She was 29 when she married William. That's a full decade of life experience Diana never got. Kate had watched Diana's story unfold, studied the playbook, and learned from every single mistake. She dated William for 8 years before walking down that aisle. 8 years! This woman did her homework. When Kate said her vows, they were crystal clear, perfect, and she even gave William that reassuring smile when he fumbled with the ring. She was calm, collected, and camera ready. It's like she'd been training for this moment her entire adult life. Which, let's be honest, she probably had. Round 2, breaking the rules. Now this is where things get spicy, because while both women broke royal protocol, they did it in completely different ways, and with wildly different consequences. Diana was the original royal rebel, and she didn't just break rules, she obliterated them. She refused to say obey in her wedding vows. She gave birth in a hospital instead of at home. She took her sons to McDonald's. Can you imagine the Queen's face when she heard that Prince William was scarfing down Happy Meals? But the real bombshell? Diana shook hands with AIDS patients without gloves in 1987. Now this might seem normal today, but back then, it was revolutionary. People thought you could catch HIV through touch. And here's Diana, the future queen, holding hands with patients and completely shattering stigma with one simple gesture. Pure Diana magic. Kate, on the other hand, is like the master of subtle rebellion. She drops the royal curtsies when no one's looking, wears affordable high street fashion that sells out in minutes. And, scandal alert, she sometimes wears the same outfit twice. The audacity. But here's where it gets interesting. Kate learned to pick her battles. She pushes boundaries just enough to seem relatable without causing constitutional crises. Diana's rule-breaking often landed her in hot water with the palace, while Kate's rebellion gets her praised for being refreshingly normal. Round 3, fashion face-off. Oh, we have to talk fashion because this is where the gloves really come off. Diana's style evolution was like watching a butterfly emerge from a chrysalis in real time. She started as this shy girl in frilly collars and ended up as a fashion icon who could stop traffic in a simple black dress. And speaking of that black dress, let's talk about the revenge dress. June 1994, Prince Charles goes on TV and admits to cheating. That same night, Diana steps out in a figure-hugging, off-the-shoulder black number that basically screamed, "You're lost, buddy!" The woman understood the assignment and delivered it with devastating precision. That dress sent a message heard around the world. I'm gorgeous, I'm free, and I'm definitely not crying into my tiara tonight. Kate's approach to fashion is like a masterclass in strategic dressing. She mixes high-end designers with accessible brands, making everything look effortless while secretly causing fashion analysts to have nervous breakdowns trying to identify every piece. She's made the Kate effect a real economic phenomenon. When she wears something, it sells out faster than concert tickets. But here's the real tea. Kate often channels Diana through her fashion choices. That red and white houndstooth coat? Diana wore it first in 1991. The blue ensembles in Pakistan? Diana's blueprint from the 90s. It's like Kate's playing a sophisticated game of fashion tribute while making it completely her own. The difference? Diana used fashion as armor and rebellion. Kate uses it as diplomacy and connection. Both brilliant, both effective, completely different strategies. Round 4, the scandals. All right, time for the juicy stuff. Because let's be honest, this is what you're really here for. Diana's scandals were legendary. We're talking affairs, explosive TV interviews, and enough drama to fuel a Netflix series for a decade. The woman gave us the line. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded, and Twitter wasn't even invented yet. That's iconic level shade throwing. Her 1995 Panorama interview was basically the royal equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb on Buckingham Palace. She talked about her bulimia, her affairs, Charles's affair, and made it crystal clear that the fairy tale was absolutely a nightmare. The interview was so explosive, it literally led to her divorce. And then there was her relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, which had the press absolutely losing their minds. The tabloids were calling it scandalous that a divorced princess was dating a wealthy playboy, because apparently happiness wasn't allowed after divorce in royal land. Now Kate, oh honey, Kate's scandals are adorable in comparison. Her biggest controversy was, wait for it, editing a Mother's Day photo. The woman tried to make a nice family picture look a little better, and the internet acted like she'd forged the crown jewels. The 2024 Photoshop gate had people analyzing pixels like they were investigating a crime scene. Kate had to issue a public apology for what was essentially normal mom behavior, trying to get a good photo where all her kids are smiling. The woman was recovering from surgery and dealing with cancer, and people were upset about some digital touch-ups. The most scandalous thing about Kate is that she sometimes wears the same outfit twice and occasionally goes makeup-free at the school run. If that's scandal, then Diana would have had people fainting in the streets. Round 5, Motherhood Methods. Let's talk about how these two approached royal motherhood, because this reveals so much about their personalities. Diana was determined to give William and Harry as normal a childhood as possible, which in royal terms meant absolutely revolutionary parenting. She took them on public transport, to theme parks, and yes, to McDonald's. She wanted them to understand that there was a world beyond palace walls where real people lived real lives. Diana was hands-on in a way that shocked the establishment. Previous royal children were raised by nannies while their parents attended to royal duties. But Diana, she traveled with her sons, kept them close, and made sure they knew they were loved first, royal second. When Diana took her boys to homeless shelters and hospitals, she wasn't just doing charity work. She was teaching empathy. She wanted her sons to understand their privilege and use it to help others. Revolutionary stuff for the 1980s royal family. Kate has taken Diana's playbook and refined it with 21st century wisdom. She's hands-on but strategic, normal but respectful of tradition. Kate does the school run, attends sports days, and has been photographed getting down on the ground to talk to her children at their eye level. Very Diana-esque. But Kate's had advantages Diana never had: a stable marriage, family support, and the benefit of watching Diana's experiences. Kate learned that you can be relatable without being rebellious. Both women understood that their children would grow up in goldfish bowls, but they approached protecting them very differently. Diana fought the system head-on. Kate learned to work within it while still prioritizing her family. Round 6, relationship with the media. This is where things get really interesting, because these two women had completely opposite relationships with the press. Diana had the most complicated love-hate relationship with the media in history. They made her a global superstar, but they also literally chased her to death. The irony is devastating. She needed them to amplify her voice and her causes, but they also made her life absolutely unbearable. Diana understood media manipulation better than most politicians. That Panorama interview, she knew exactly what she was doing. She bypassed the palace PR machine and spoke directly to the people. It was brilliant, it was brave, and it was ultimately tragic because it made her even more of a target. The paparazzi were obsessed with Diana. Every outfit, every expression, every moment was documented. She couldn't buy groceries without it becoming front-page news. The pressure was relentless, and it contributed to her struggles with mental health and eating disorders. Kate, on the other hand, has mastered the art of controlled media engagement. She learned from Diana's experience that you need boundaries with the press or they'll consume you alive. Kate's approach is strategic, carefully managed photo opportunities, limited interviews, and a clear separation between public and private life. When Kate does appear, it's usually perfectly orchestrated. She knows her angles, understands lighting, and has perfected the art of looking naturally stunning in every photo. It's media management at its finest. Give them enough access to stay relevant, but not so much that you lose your privacy. The difference is stunning. Diana was media catnip who couldn't escape the cameras, while Kate treats the media like a tool she controls rather than a monster that controls her. Round 7, charitable work and causes. Let's talk about how these women use their platforms, because this is where their true characters really shine. Diana revolutionized royal charity work. Before Diana, royal patronages were stuffy, formal affairs where you showed up, smiled, cut a ribbon, and left. Diana threw that playbook out the window and got her hands dirty. She hugged lepers when the world thought they were untouchable. She walked through active minefields to raise awareness about landmines. She held dying AIDS patients when society was still figuring out how the disease spread. Diana didn't just lend her name to causes, she became the causes. Her approach was raw, emotional, and deeply personal. When Diana cried at a funeral or held a grieving mother, it wasn't performance, it was genuine human connection. She used her pain and her experiences to connect with others who were suffering. Diana's charity work was often controversial because she refused to stay in her lane. Royal protocol said smile and wave. Diana said roll up your sleeves and get involved. She transformed the royal family's approach to public service forever. Kate's charitable approach is more systematic but equally impactful. She's focused on early childhood development and mental health. Kate does her homework, understands the issues deeply, and works for sustainable solutions rather than just raising awareness. Her Heads Together campaign with William and Harry has genuinely changed conversations about mental health in the UK. But Kate's style is less emotional, more professional. She's brilliant at building coalitions to create actual policy changes. Both approaches are valuable. Diana broke down barriers and changed hearts, while Kate builds systems and changes minds. Diana was the emotional catalyst. Kate is the strategic implementer. Round 8, marriage and relationships. Now for the tea you've all been waiting for. Let's talk about their very different approaches to royal marriage. Diana's marriage was an absolute disaster from day one, but in the most publicly fascinating way possible. She was 19, he was 32, and they barely knew each other. It was an arranged marriage disguised as a fairy tale, and the whole world watched it implode in real time. The age gap, the personality differences, and yes, Camilla Parker Bowles in the background from the beginning, it was a recipe for disaster. Diana was looking for love and support. Charles was looking for a suitable wife and mother for his heirs. They wanted completely different things. But here's what made Diana extraordinary. She refused to suffer in silence. When royal protocol said grin and bear it, Diana said absolutely not. She fought back, and she refused to be a victim. That takes incredible courage when you're up against an institution that's existed for 1,000 years. Kate's marriage is Diana's complete opposite, and that's obviously intentional. Kate and William dated for 8 years, broke up once, got back together, and really knew what they were signing up for. No surprises, no fairy tale delusions. Just two people who genuinely seemed to like each other, deciding to build a life together. Kate learned from Diana's mistakes. She maintained her independence, kept her friends, and didn't lose herself in the relationship. When Kate married William, she wasn't a teenager looking for a father figure. She was a grown woman choosing a partner. The result? A marriage that actually works. They support each other, share the workload, and seem to genuinely enjoy each other's company. Revolutionary stuff in royal marriage terms. Round 9, Legacy and Impact. Let's talk about what these women actually achieved, because this is where things get really interesting. Diana's legacy is absolutely unprecedented. She single-handedly transformed the British monarchy from a distant formal institution into something people actually cared about. She made royalty relatable, approachable, and relevant to ordinary people's lives. Her sons, William and Harry, are both products of her revolutionary parenting. Their openness about mental health, their charitable work, their determination to use their platforms for good, that's all Diana's influence. She taught them that privilege comes with responsibility, and they've never forgotten it. Diana also changed global conversations about everything from AIDS to mental health to landmines. She used her celebrity to force uncomfortable conversations that needed to happen. Her influence extended far beyond Britain. She was a global force for compassion and change. But here's the controversial take. Diana's legacy is also cautionary. Her story shows what happens when the institution fails to protect and support its members. Her struggles with mental health, her eating disorders, her isolation. These were warning signs that the system needed to change. Kate's legacy is still being written, but it's already clear that she's learned from Diana's experiences. Kate has shown that you can be a powerful royal without being a tragic royal. Kate's impact is quieter, but potentially more sustainable. Her work on early childhood development could influence policy for generations. Her approach to mental health advocacy is creating lasting change in how we talk about these issues. Most importantly, Kate is showing that royal women can have agency, boundaries, and happy families. That might not seem revolutionary, but after Diana's story, it absolutely is. Conclusion. So who wins in the ultimate Diana versus Kate showdown? Here's the thing. This was never really a competition because they were fighting completely different battles. Diana was the trailblazer who broke down the walls and showed what was possible. She paid an enormous personal price for her courage, but she changed everything for the women who came after her. Diana was the revolution. Kate is the evolution. She took Diana's lessons and built something sustainable on top of them. She's proving that you can honor Diana's legacy while also protecting yourself and your family. Kate is the solution to problems Diana identified but couldn't solve. Here's the real truth. We needed both of them. Diana to break the system open and show its flaws, and Kate to prove that those flaws could be fixed. Diana's story was the wake-up call. Kate's story is the happy ending Diana never got to write for herself. So instead of choosing sides, maybe we should celebrate what each of them brought to the table. Diana gave us passion, courage, and unforgettable moments. Kate is giving us stability, strategy, and sustainable change. Together, they've transformed what it means to be a royal woman in the 21st century. And honestly, that's a legacy any princess would be proud of. The real winner? All of us, for getting to witness two incredible women redefine royalty in their own unique ways. Now that's what I call a royal revolution.